Awesome. Oh my goodness. Guys, I'm so excited to be here. I'm going to do my best to keep this to 45 minutes. Um, Everyone in my family, everyone in my company, thanks you all for listening to me talk about this stuff because there, this is one of my favorite topics, but it's also one of the topics that's almost the most difficult to get people talking about. But okay, so what are we talking? Frequently unasked questions, the unknown unknowns, what we don't know to ask for. So I'm going to swing into this without any context. I'm not going to tell you who I am. You'll learn that as we go. And I've got a slide at the end that tells you everything. We're just going to jump into this. Okay. We're going to define frequently unasked questions. That's going to be our starting point. And then we're going to talk about labeling them, making them findable, and especially making them useful for humans, our audiences, and for LLMs, for AI. Okay. We believe that, and we're beginning to see evidence given how quickly and frequently AI or ChatGPT is actually pinging websites, right? Like we have a client that's getting some of their product pages called hundreds of times a day from people in using ChatGPT. So we know that LLMs, not only are they building out massive trading data sets, right, that are sort of like a cache or a web cache, but they're actively looking at our sites all the time. And I think that this sort of framework for providing information to audiences could be very helpful and very useful. And also, one last shout out, Sherry Thoreau, thank you. I'll stop there. But thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to speak today. Okay. I gotta hide us. So there we go. Frequently unasked questions, pretty easily summarized or exemplified by an iceberg. You know, our frequently asked questions is how do we avoid that ice? The unasked questions are these areas of what can we not see, but we should still be aware of. Okay, so we think of them as information gaps. So the other kind of key pieces that as information providers, right, like the informers, we're not always clear on what people don't know to ask. So I always think of that, you know, in movies, there's this trope of like, hey, you know, are there any lions in that room? No, there's no lions. And you walk in and it's all dinosaurs. And they're like, oh my gosh, there's dinosaurs all over. Well, you didn't ask me if there are any dinosaurs. So it's like we know what to ask for, sort of. And as information providers, we know what to provide, sort of. But then there's all these kinds of places that are hard to see into. Okay. And I think of these as the frequently unasked questions. Anything we can't see, but that we should still be aware of. Now, for this presentation, I'll be thinking a lot and referencing a lot of study we've done on mid-career prospective students, people who are going back to school mid-career. So I'll get into all that, but as we go, but you know, an example is like who pays. Frequently asked questions would be who's going to pay, how much does it cost to go back to school mid-career, what is the curriculum like, what I'll be able to do after I get my degree. Well, haha. Now this slide, my designer is going to be upset with me because I didn't have enough time to give her space to make changes to the slide. So this is this morning. This is my Saturday morning. It was such a delightful moment. But okay, so the unasked questions, caregiving obligations, work responsibilities, post-degree assumptions I may have as someone going back to school. So the what I'm trying to say is that yes, there, you know, very, very much there are frequently unasked questions and frequently asked questions, but it's the frequently unasked questions that are affecting us as we're trying to implement or utilize some aspect of a website or you know, for example, become get a degree. There are questions we don't necessarily know to ask or don't think to ask in the moment, And this is where I'm taking us today on this conversation or in this presentation, but this is also where I believe we should be leaning into, especially in this era, guys, where the LLM knows everything already. Like they have all the data already. So where should we be for our audiences, right? And I think it's these places. It's helping them see into the future somewhat. So frequently unasked questions are made of gaps. There's probably more than 3. I'm sure there's more than 3. I don't necessarily know what they are. So this is the place that we are examining actively. But we think that they're in these 3 kind of main gaps. That's expertise. So very particularly we'd be for our mid-career students, we'd be enabling them to ask questions like, am I really genuinely setting myself up for success? What assumptions might I have? Because I haven't gotten an advanced degree yet, what assumptions might I have about my career path or what this degree will enable me to do, right? So where should this live? Is this a data point actually? Is this, how do we kind of bucket this or categorize this? Well, for I'm just going to say it's probably expertise or in some way related to experience or lack of experience that someone has and just doesn't know to ask. But it's still, again, vital for whether or not they're going to find success. Then very, very practically, we can think about gaps in hard knowledge, right? Like I just don't know. And so again, looking forward into kind of implementation phases or when someone is trying to actually accomplish a goal or a task or move ahead. Some of this type of information could be things like for our prospective students, things like baseline competencies, right? Like what do I absolutely have to know on day one? And, again, the kind of the success blocking assumption would be, admission equals preparedness. Then one of my favorites, I get called on this a little bit periodically, but is the idea of a gap in empathy. All right. So very particular, and this is really what we dug into with our study that we did, but is this notion for, within the realm of our prospective student is that we're going to my stakeholders, my accomplices, my allies in this, familial, workplace, they're going to be there for me all throughout the next 18 months of my reduced capability, right? Like I'm not going to be able to pick up the kids like I used to. I'm not going to be able to do overtime. I'm not going to be able to work on Saturdays, okay, and have these incredible presentations. But point is, this is a place where we could see people and websites kind of falling short in how they're enabling their audiences to really understand in many ways like a total cost of ownership or the impact on stakeholders of this kind of transition decision that they're in the midst of. Okay, so we got these 3 kind of key gaps. There's a 4th one further on, and just we're still architecting this really kind of finding our way forward with it. Okay, so those are frequently unasked questions, right? But what's the difference? And we talk. There's the stuff the stuff you don't know. I trying to think like an information architect, you guys. I'm a marketer, all right? But I'm really doing my best to meet you guys where you are. And if this part sounds a little weird, it's because I don't quite understand it. Don't hold that against Sherry. This is all me. Okay, so frequently unasked questions, though, they sort of maintain a system. These are kind of known or expected types of questions or concerns we might have. They're pretty easily answerable, expectedly findable, like we know to look for them, right? So in my discipline in search engine optimization, we think of these as, you know, the frequently searched queries, right? So this is a, you know, what we know that we don't know, or what we know that our audience doesn't know, right? And so the frequently unasked questions are ways to future-proof really the successes of our audiences and how they're interacting with our information, right? Or what we're providing them on a given page. So we're really kind of trying to granularly examine you know, what does this particular data point or this page, what is it supposed to enable someone to accomplish? And then what might be some of the gaps that they would have where this information doesn't quite solve all of that problem, or, you know, maybe they may not have thought about their stakeholders from these perspectives, et cetera. So it requires systems thinking, and this is where I just genuinely don't know. This is me working with DeepSeek to build this part of the presentation, but it's like, what is systems thinking? As a marketer, like, I have an idea of what that might mean, but, you know, stakeholder mapping I get, right? Like, so we're going to go in, and we did this. We asked we asked the folks, the successful students who we surveyed. We asked them about their stakeholders, right? Like, who are their support systems, right? We want to think about outcome dependencies in order for this, you know, this page to be useful, right? It needs to enable someone to see some of the dependencies, the outcome dependencies that might exist. And then, you know, they label, organize, and display anticipatory pathways. I'm just reading here. But an example would be, you know, from this perspective of the prospective student, how do I best renegotiate caregiving? This is hard. This is hard work. Renegotiating something like with expectations, it's not always as easy as to say, hey, can you pick the kids up after school on Saturday or on Friday? Excuse me. Well, can you pick up the kids after school on Friday for the next 18 months? That's a big ask, and so there's a lot of really, frankly, unsupported audience needs from my perspective as a marketer, as kind of a content marketer. I'm like, well, we're not necessarily there for our audience in a way that's going to enable them to, you know, support their stakeholders, right? Like, the support really does need to go both ways. Okay, so I hope you've walked along with me, and I've kind of made the case so far for what is a frequently unasked question, what is it versus a frequently asked question, what are they made of? So why should we care? Why should we do this? Why should we answer these questions? And I feel like why should we discover or predict and then answer these questions? It's not even why should we answer them. We don't know what they are yet, so we'll get there. But that's where we're going now, right? So this is where we really do enter into the theory space, or like the mission space of this talk. But, you know, proactively answering their frequently unasked questions, finding and answering these, makes you an ally on their transition as they're trying to solve a problem or achieve a goal or achieve a particular outcome. So, and this is Garrett ideation, or like, you know, but it just the idea of preventable setback prevention, right? Like, saving people the pain and anguish that if they had just asked the right question, they would not have, you know, oh, the batteries were not included. Okay, that's good to know. And then, you know, I like to make up phrases and words. So like preflection, this is a new, so like, you know, the feeling of when you solve a difficult puzzle, or like, you know, you get the Wordle and 2, you're like, you feel that dopamine thrill. Like, I feel that when someone tells me a good idea that saves me time, right? And so what do we just want to make people feel good? But I feel like it's a visceral. This is a real visceral kind of opportunity that we have to help our audiences in ways that genuinely benefit them. And I believe they're going to be citable in LLMs, because almost by nature, the frequently unasked questions are not said, or they're not stated frequently, or they're not asked directly. They're not known to be asked. And so this is going to be net new information. We know we're moving into this era where it's all been said. It's this entire ocean of knowledge, and just, ChatGPT goes, grabs it, structures it for you, and tells you. And it's pretty cool. It's wonderful. We love it. But there's always things that are missing, right? And this is where I think increasingly our role. I don't know how information architecture exactly fits into it, frankly. But as a marketer, I believe that it's part of our duty to get out there and try to understand what do people not know to ask. And not only is it going to help our audiences, but it's going to help us appear and be visible, more visible in LLM. So long as we're actively studying, we're doing statistically significant research, right? So you guys, you must be sold by now. I can stop trying to sell you on frequently unasked questions. You're here with me, I'm sure. So how can you figure out what they are? Well, let's dig in. So it's my belief, and from our work, it's proven out that your existing frequently unasked questions, particularly page level specific frequently unasked questions, are a lovely place to start. So I humbly submit that you interrogate your FAQs, right? You can write prompts for this. I'm going to be sharing a prompt. I haven't I haven't written it yet. Don't hold it against Sherry. That was my fault. But what are the missing stakeholder perspectives, right? Like, and I believe that's empathy, right? So we're in the midst of the audience on your page is in the midst of a transition, right? They're trying to solve a problem. They're going from problem existing to problem not existing, right? This is the goal they're trying to achieve. And along the way, though, there's going to be stakeholders in this problem, or in the outcomes, or the next steps, and they may not have thought of them. They may not have taken them into consideration. And I think this is the key and vital place for our audiences to learn, right? We've got the unmapped dependencies, unrecognized biases, and assumptions. And this is a place I love to, you always know when you hit one of these, you're like, oh, like, wow, I really expected or assumed something different would happen here. And but if we can pre-answer these kinds of things, I really feel like we have and we could discover them within our existing frequently asked questions. We're moving in the right direction. And very particularly, we're wondering about applicability of the frequently asked questions within domain level, or very particular theaters of practice. So this is what we see a lot in LLM prompting right now, and this is one of the huge. Like, I'm so thrilled and so excited about it. But what we're seeing is that people are asking very convoluted, particular queries. Very, like, you wouldn't go to Google and be able to get a response to some of the types of queries we're seeing in LLMs. So people are using them very differently and asking very, very particular specific types of questions. If you're in the SEO space, we think about, kind of modeling backwards from topical intent. Like, we think in terms of bucketing keywords by what problems are people trying to solve, right? We look down at the people, we scrape Google a lot, right? But we look down at the people also asked, and we say, well, what are they asking? besides just this keyword? What are the types of questions people are asking? You can kind of lean into intent that way as well. And this could become a filter or a layer with which you're kind of interrogating your frequently unasked questions, or your frequently asked questions to discover the frequently unasked questions. We don't have a specific tool built just for frequently asked to frequently unasked yet, but we're modeling all that out right now. Write a prompt. It's you interrogate your frequently asked questions. Again, there's my email address. Write me. I'll write you. You tell me what your FAQ page is, and I'll work backwards into a prompt just for you. Anybody listening today, or write your own. You guys know how to write prompts, but like that would be that's what I think you should do next, just to check this out, and then you check in with your colleagues and internal stakeholders to validate them. And then the fun part. All right. So you got your hypothesis. We had this hypothesis, kind of as we leaned into this for the students, which is right here. I spent so much time writing this. I really want to just read it out loud. But people are getting pre-approval from their stakeholders before committing their stakeholders' resources of time, money, and effort for the entire duration of the enrollment, right? That is just the people that have been successful in college will have kind of talked with their stakeholders before they went ahead and made this major life decision, okay? And we were right. Of course we were right. I mean, this is like kind of obvious, but the thing is that we had data. We had that really, to my knowledge, no one else had. So what do we do with it though? Okay, what do we do with this? We surveyed, I think it was 500 people, and then we did 24 interviews, like actual, I think there are 30 to 45-minute interviews with folks to really understand success factors particular to how they're really, it was kind of the empathy side of the frequently unasked questions, like what happens during an emergency, or what happens if these things occur, what do we do, where do we go, and we were looking for the successful behaviors, or the behaviors of our successful students, right? And then where we lean next is into the place of accelerating the behaviors, or enabling the successful behaviors of the successful students, right? So what do we do with this though? So what do we do with this, theoretically net new information? God, how do I only have 15 minutes left, you guys? Okay, so we map their gaps, right? Or we map what the successful students are doing into these transitional phases, right? Like, because again, this is going back to school is as a marketer, it's a purchase decision, all right? Like, just from my perspective, it's a purchase, or my practical perspective, right? But as a human, I know that there's a lot of other stakeholders, and there's a lot of other kinds of, worst case scenarios that could be happening. And it's a transition, right? Like, if I'm trying to go back to school, there's going to be a lot of things that are in motion and moving, and a lot of uncertainties and unsolved for things. So I'm in transition. And as a marketer, I very much want to think of this as I'm in the funnel, right? Like, I'm getting ready to buy something, right? But as a human who's in that getting ready to buy something state, there's a lot of other factors going on, okay? And so when someone is on your page, right? Like, someone's on your website on a page getting information, they're in the midst, we theoretically, right? They're transition proximal. They're getting ready to do something. They're trying to accomplish something. And that's where you need to land. That's where you need to be with frequently unasked questions. with answers to the frequently unasked questions. Okay, so I'm like, oh my gosh, this is such a big presentation. I have like 7 different presentations in one. Okay, so phases of transition. And this is another kind of layer of how do you interrogate frequently unasked questions, okay? So pre-commitment, I haven't signed up yet. What are the hidden costs, right? Stakeholder conflicts. And this is the one we did build. We haven't, actually, this was so cool, you guys. Our editor for this entire project, she took the survey data and wrote, we've got 20,000 word guide and multiple different types of guides that she built out based on our survey that are going to help students, prospective students, with their empathy and talk to this person, guidelines to talk to that person. But then she took the survey data and her guides, plugged it into ChatGPT, and then connected that somehow to Replit, which is an app developing tool, and she made a stakeholder empathy mapping tool. Like, it was amazing. Is that what information architects should do? I don't know. I'm just a marketer, you guys, but it's really cool. Things are way more possible than ever before. And this is, my colleague, Susanna, she's been editing with us for, I think, 8 or 9 years. Amazing, brilliant. And now she's a developer also. Okay. This is just a crazy time. It's so exciting. So we had the pre-commitment phase, active transition. I'm in the midst of solving this problem, right? So these are the kinds of the phases. There can be different levels of urgency around the kinds of information that I'm seeking and what I need to know when. For example, right before this call, I realized I hadn't really signed in to, what are we using? Whatever this talking software is. So it was very last minute, and I was very urgent and anxious about this unasked question, which was, how do I log in? And so anyhow, okay. So this for students, how do I renegotiate support now that I've got my kid's sick? Or how do I renegotiate? Okay. This is a tough place. We all know this place. Like, ooh, I got to go back and ask for more money, or ooh, I didn't allow for enough time in my presentation. Maybe I need to try to negotiate for more time. So the tool, the output here would be a crisis communication template. Yeah, I need this for so many times in my life when I've just effed something up, or like, how do you talk this through? You really effed this one up. How do you, or you didn't, it was just, it was something outside of your control. Unexpected demands have arisen. How do I renegotiate with someone that had expectations that are not going to be met now? And then post-transition, like, how do you, like, and this is where I genuinely don't know the answer, but how do you label, almost a different phase? One element or one page on your website needs to have all these, from my perspective, all these various dimensions, right? Like this page might need to have different information on it if I was at a different phase, or maybe it should just be a different page. I don't know. I'll let Sherry answer that kind of thing. But we think about like post-transitional, right? Like after I've gotten my degree, what do I do next? What do I do now? And I think this is another kind of key place that is we can and should be building into for our audiences. So how do we integrate frequently unasked questions into our systems? And so, for us, I think a crisis communication template would right directly within the learning management system. Like someone goes to the help. Oh no, this has happened. Well, you've got the crisis communication template already mapped out. You put in their employer's name, their manager's name, and it just writes them an email that explains it and presents the circumstance and makes a clear request. And this is where, this isn't Garrett here. Label frequently unasked questions driven content so it can live in an adaptive layer within information ecosystems. I have a hunch of what that, like, I love sci-fi, so I think I know what that means, but I just hope it actually means something to my audience. Yes. Frequently unasked questions are transition enablement infrastructure. That is what I'm suggesting. I'm a marketer, though, as I've said, and I love it. I really enjoy the space that I work in. I love the people I work with. I love my clients, and I know we have to stay nimble right now, right? Everything's changing. Everything's changing. It's changing faster than I think anyone expected. Certainly myself. So, but it's changing fast, and I think we do need to think about how we're organizing our information. That it can't necessarily be static in really any way. We need to be thinking about how does it affect outcomes, transition outcomes, what are the transition phases it's useful. And we also, of course, have to think deeply about our newest audience member. Yeah, of course. And this is the place really where I think that frequently unasked questions, if we really try to answer them, we really try to discover and then answer them, we hold our information accountable, right, to the usefulness, to being useful to our audiences. We're also going to be serving the ease with which they're able to solve problems in AI. We're going to be suggesting to LLMs, especially if you have data behind it, that, gosh, if you're thinking about signing up for college as mid-career, you need to be prepared to have renegotiation conversations with your partner, with your boss, with your colleagues at work, with your parents who might be helping support with the children, right? With their grandchildren. I don't know that LLMs can predict into that place yet. And if we are giving them the data to not just predict into these spaces, but be able to say, hey, look, successful students are 25%, I'm making this number up, but are 25% more likely to have discuss responsibilities prior to signing up, right? We now, and if it's statistically significant, we've done our jobs, guys. Like we've enabled people to solve problems more effectively, more efficiently, and achieve their outcomes, their desired outcomes, in a more efficient way, right? So it's what I humbly submit to you for homework. Nobody, if anybody's still, if you guys are still with me, I'm just so grateful. Thank you so much. But here's what I propose. You want to audit your content, your FAQs, particularly, using the frequently unasked question fact sets framework, which I'll be building. I'd love to work directly with you on it, collaborate. I mean, just hit me up. I'm not trying to sell. I'm always trying to sell, but I won't. And because this is our era, guys. We have to collaborate with everyone now. What the hell's going on? So you're going to audit your content, right? You're going to design phase-specific tools, surveys to support your audiences at these different phases and the different kinds of gaps they're likely to have. And then this line, I don't know, maybe it's more impactful when I wrote it. It felt so nice, but so that we can peer more effectively into the unknown. Who am I? What the heck am I doing here? All right, I'm Garrett French. I founded a company called Citation Labs. We're a link building agency. Link building is essentially promoting or designing and promoting content that can earn links, citations from other websites, from other practitioners, from other experts in a given space. Also founded ZipSprout. One of my pride and joys, I've got my ZipSprout t-shirt on today. This is a local sponsorship, discovery, and community engagement agency. We built it to build local links, right, to impact people's local search rankings. And we've really found that it's been a lovely way to kind of enable our clients to give back to their local communities. We've donated over $7 million through ZipSprout of our clients' money through ZipSprout over the past I think 9 years now. And we just founded Zofu.com, right? Where XOFU.com. And this is where we're examining user behaviors at the conversion level, right? Like people who are buying things right after they learn about them on ChatGPT. And so I have a full life. It's very wonderful and very fun. And all these things too, but I've got very few minutes left. I'm here to collaborate with you guys. I really am. If you're like, oh, he might be fun to talk with. I am fun to talk with. I talk with me. Let's solve problems. Let's talk about them. We don't have to solve them, but let's talk about them. I'd love to hear how you're approaching, AI and LLMs from an information architecture standpoint. But very much, I would love to learn what pages in particular you'd want to examine, that we want to interrogate and unpack. How do we want to enable our audiences, right? Like to become more efficient in solving problems and achieving their goals and outcomes. And guys, I just really hope that this was useful today. This is my first time presenting this. Sherry invited me, and I'm so grateful and honored to have had the opportunity to speak with you guys today. Thank you all so much.